The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to the Paracave Podcast. And welcome back to the Game Day preview, where throughout 2024 I will try and get a celebrity fan or a fan of rugby league of the opposition that is playing the Parramatta Eels each week. And so this week it is the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. So I've managed to track down a massive Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs fan, and that fan is Mr. George from the Quick Hands podcast. You may recognise his name and voice from the podcast that we do together, the Sugar and Spice and All Things Nice podcast, where we talk about the issues of rugby league each week. But this one is about his love for the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, favourite memories, players, all that usual stuff. And we also do a little bit of a preview of the game that is happening today on at 5:30 against the Parramatta Eels against the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs at CommBank Stadium. And look, it is a sellout, so congratulations, it is a sellout. Will it break the ground record? That will be very, very interesting indeed. Two 80s rivals every day of the week, but started back in the 80s and continued on until today. Canterbury hate Parramatta, Parramatta hate Canterbury. If you ask a Canterbury fan which team do they want to beat each and every year, it's the Parramatta Eels. If you ask a Parramatta fan who they want to beat most and every year, most of them will say the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. So look, this is a bit of a game day preview, and as I said, if you want to know who is coming up on the game day previews, just simply have a look at the NRL draw and just see who Parramatta is playing. And I will try, as I said, I will try and get a celebrity fan or a fan of rugby league of the opposition team, and we will do a game day preview which will come out as the title suggests, on game days. So that could be a Saturday, could be a Sunday, could be a Friday, could be a Thursday. So it will come out on the day of the game. So I hope you enjoy this chat. Give the Quick Hands podcast a follow as well. The three guys, they love their rugby league and they chat the issues of the rugby league each week. So they've got some great content coming out. So you may find me on their show every now and again. You never know. But look, give them a follow. They're doing some great stuff with rugby league. But this is the game day preview with George from the Quick Hands podcast. Enjoy. And today on the podcast, we're going back to our game day previews as the NRL season 2024 has started with round 0 over in Las Vegas. But the Parramatta Eels in round 1 take on the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs at 5:30 on Saturday afternoon. And well, this is a game day preview, so it's obviously today. But so what I'm going to try and do throughout the year is I'm going to try and get a fan of the opposition of Parramatta or a celebrity fan, and just talk about their love for their team and ask a few questions about the team, and also preview the game as well. So obviously I'll be on the Parramatta side, and whoever Parramatta's playing will be on the other side. So this week it is the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. For example, next week it'll be the Penrith Panthers and then the Manly Sea Eagles, etc, etc. But it's the Bulldogs this week, and I have got joining me today, I've got an old friend, a regular on the show, George from the Quick Hands podcast, who was a massive Bulldogs fan. How are you going, George? Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me, Troy. Pleasure, and can't wait to get stuck in. I love talking rugby league, but there's something more I like talking about. It's Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. So let's do it.
Alrighty. Well, yeah, two fierce rivals, the Bulldogs and the Eels. But let's start off with yourself. How long have you been following the Bulldogs, and how did you end up supporting the Bulldogs?
Yeah, good question, Troy. 1979, Canterbury Bankstown were known as the entertainers. They'll throw that ball around like a hot cake. I was a very young man then, but it just attracted me that style of football. And then, as we know, in the early 80s, had a hooker called George Paponis, which was actually the captain of Australia as well. And as you know, that my background is Greek as well. I'm born in Australia, but Greek. So that even attracted me even more. Dad was the rugby league, believe it or not. He was the rugby league fanatic in the house as well. And that attracted him to the Dogs as well. And they won a few comps back then as well, which did the trick. And then a coach called Warren Ryan joined on and developed a style which I still love, which we know is that grind football, which they played. And he developed that defensive system, that up and in system. And funny that I was speaking to a friend of mine, and I said that Parramatta team in the 80s on paper was far better than Canterbury, but we were Parramatta's kryptonite. The style we played was a style that Parramatta just didn't like, and that's the only reason we kept in those games. Because any other way, we would get blown away, like they used to do most of the time. Parramatta team. I started following them late 70s, and since then, mate.
So you mentioned George Paponis there, Dr. George Paponis.
Dr. George Paponis, that's right.
He got you into the game. Who else were your favourite players starting to watch rugby league? Canterbury. Terry Lamb. Steve Mortimer, loved those two. Those little chip and chase, if you remember, the chip and chase merchant. Yeah, and, you don't see those too many these days.
No, you don't. You know, Mitch can do that, but just doesn't do it that much. And what Stevie Mortimer had as well, he had a really great covering tackle. So often a break would happen on the other side of the field, and you'd see Steve Mortimer, because he was quick, running from the other side of the field and just doing those covering tackles. There's a player called Paul Langmack. I'm not sure if you remember him. Yeah, Langers, one of the first ball-playing locks. I can't remember before him another ball-playing lock, Troy. There probably was, but he was the first one that I can remember. So he's another one who I loved. Look, Cement Gillespie was one of my favourites.
Yeah,
Cement, like when he hit him, they got hit. They got hit, mate. What else? Let me see. I can't remember. I like some of those 90s teams. Your Anastas, your Prices. I used to love Steve Price. Remember a little winger we had, Utai.
Oh yeah, Matty Utai. Yeah, big tree trunk legs.
Big tree trunk, yeah, like he was wider than tall. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was hard to stop as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Someone you probably won't know is Carl White. Do you remember a back rower? Carl White.
Yeah. Had a brother as well. Played for Western Suburbs.
Yes, bravo, Troy. Good memory. I'll tell you the story about him. He would be a guy who would be in and out of form and in and out of the team all year. But when semi-finals came around, they'd always put him in. Forget the coach. back then anyway, and he would always perform and lift that team. You know what I mean? So there's some of my favourite players. It's been a few lean years lately, Troy. So I can't say that I've got favourites recently. Dean Pay.
Okay,
One of my and probably one of your favourites as well, because he had a stint there at Parramatta. But he was one of my favourites, mate, Big Dino. So so that's the love of Bulldogs, and you know what, it hurts a little bit in recent years, but I've got this glimmer of hope this year, mate. I've got this little glimmer of hope. You know what I mean? At least, I don't want even to make the 8, but maybe we won't get flogged that much anymore.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You never know, man.
Yeah, that's it. You never know. Well, you mentioned Dean Pay there. As a Canterbury fan, how did it feel back in the day, 1997, I think it was, when the Big Four came over to Parramatta? Dean Pay, Jared McCracken, Jason Smith, and Jimmy Dimmick.
It's funny you say that.
Because I loved it. You must have hated it. Originally,
so here's the thing, that my second favourite team is the Parramatta Eels. And you know that I've got a season ticket for Parramatta, partly because I think it's the best ground in Australia. Bank West. Is it Bank West?
CommBank.
CommBank. And secondly is because my actually all-time favourite player is Peter Sterling.
Okay.
I'll put it out now. What I saw him do back in the 80s, I've seen no one, including Johns. He's still the one for me, and I can't believe he's not an immortal. You know what? First I thought betrayed. Then I was hurting. But then after, because Parramatta is my second team, I was okay with it, and I really hoped that they did well. And I thought they'll do a little bit better than they did, actually. But I mean, you recall those days? They put a smile on your face.
Yeah, definitely. They sort of turned Parramatta around, along with Coach Brian Smith in those late 90s, and turned them back into semi-finalists each and every year. And the young blokes, they just really learnt off those Big Four Canterbury players, especially Dean Pay as well.
And I think that's the biggest takeaway from that the youngsters coming through, because Parramatta is a development club, taught the ones coming up, and we saw the years after that, we saw the benefits of it.
Yeah.
When they're all streaming through.
Who were your favourite set of Canterbury brothers? Because we've seen a couple come through. Most notably the Hughes brothers and the Mortimer brothers. Who do you reckon it would be your favourite Canterbury brothers?
The Mortimer boys. Steve might have been the flashy chip and chase and bravado, but let me tell you, it was Glenn, the younger one, and I forget now. I can't remember the guy who went to Penrith as well.
Chris Mortimer and
Chris.
Yeah, so Steve Mortimer, Chris Mortimer, and Peter Mortimer.
Peter, and there was Glenn, the young brother who had a stint as well. The other two you mentioned, they were hard-nosed rugby league players. They were centres, and let me tell you, they were the complete opposite of Steve. So Steve got all the headlines, but let me tell you, Peter and Chris did all the hard work. So I loved them. You know what I mean? And that was a time where we had Greg Bretnor at fullback. Yeah. And he just chimed in, and he ran off all those three brothers, and I reckon they made him look as good as he was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Peter is obviously the father of Daniel Mortimer, who played at Parramatta and the Roosters and the Titans as well, but now is a successful. Sorry.
What's he doing
he's now a successful wine merchant out there in Orange.
Oh, right.
Mortimer's Wines.
Oh, back home.
Yeah. So loving life out there at the moment, and some pretty tasty wine as well. I had a bottle a long time ago now, so but,
a drop.
Yeah, not bad. But you mentioned Greg Brentnell there, but another player who scored a great grand final try, and particularly could be your one, or could be your favourite Bulldogs moment, or one of your favourite Bulldogs moment, but that try in that grand final against the Roosters in 1980.
What a try.
Yeah, Steve Gearin just catching the ball on the full and scoring that try. Is that your favourite Bulldogs moment, or is there another one another one that stands out for you?
Number one, that moment you're speaking about is just iconic. It's if you speak to Bulldog supporters, not the younger ones, but definitely of our vintage, mate. That's probably one of the brightest memories we have. There's some really good memories that Hazem El Mazari gave us, mate. A few sideline kicks, one that I can remember at Newcastle. With the game on the line. I think it was after the Hooter as well.
Joey Johns. Joey Johns just looking up at the post. And...
I think it was a windy day as well, I remember. And he nailed that. And we forget Darryl Halligan.
No, please don't mention Darryl. I don't. I hope
I'm not going to get to that famous game.
Okay.
That famous semi-final game.
That's all right.
Must be one of the games you want to forget. That was in recent memory. That was probably one of the games. 1995. We just squeezed into the top 5 back then, mate. We had to beat the Cowboys. The Gold Coast. We had to beat them by 30 or 40s to get in mathematically, and they beat them by 55.
Yeah, wow.
Didn't think much of it. We made the 5. Well, last in. We weren't playing good that year. Something happened. Something clicked. They got some players back, and they went on that run and won the comp in '95. If you remember. So that whole semi-final series is entrenched in my mind. But yeah, I can't remember famous last-minute goals, and again that Gary Owen, as Rex Mossop called it, that Gary Owen kick in the corner was a great memory. Canterbury's had a lot of stars, a lot of good players go through that club, like Parramatta. It's still the last 5-6 years is still strange for me.
Yeah,
it's like Parramatta, if they're not making the 8, like so it's really strange for me because all my life they've made the 8.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, since the 70s. So I'm hoping this year, but yeah. You know what? It gets to us. It gets to a stage sometimes, and I'm a bit numb now. But when they play well on the weekend, you wake up on the Monday with a smile on your face, and when they play not so well, you're sort of a little bit grumpy. Now, over the last 5-6 years, you sort of got a little bit immune to it, yeah. But I'm happy for those glory days back, Troy. Bring them back. I miss them, mate.
Yeah, no, that's it. So do I, and many Parramatta fans. We miss the glory days and hoping to create a bit of glory this year. What about, is there any favourite Parramatta Canterbury games that stand out? I mean, obviously as a Bulldogs fan, it pains me to say that 1998 semi-final, prelim final I should say, that probably stands out. But for me, that 2009 prelim final stands out for me. And many of the players that I've spoken to on both sides, that stands out for them just for the sheer volume of the crowd and the way that they were split in half at CommBank Stadium as it is known now. So half blue and white, half blue and gold.
Yeah. I was there. I was there, Troy, and to feel when the Dogs were coming back, to feel the atmosphere and the anticipation around the ground was something unforgettable. I put that feeling down. I was there at that famous soccer game where Australia made the World Cup for the first time in that penalty shootout. That was tension all through that game. But that last 20 minutes when the Dogs came back, I haven't felt. Well, it's equaled any feeling, any tension, any anticipation, and at the end, any glory, any feeling of exhilaration that I've had at any other ground. And I used to go. I don't go now, but I used to go to a lot of sporting events. So that was definitely a memorable game. But I go back to the '80s and those famous clashes we had, and who can forget the Trialist Grand Final?
Yeah, 1986.
You know what I mean? That was a novel. That was epic. And if you're not a purist, you don't understand it. But that was two conflicting styles trying to get on top of each other. Parramatta were desperate trying to shift the ball to their backs, and Canberra was just trying to go through the middle and grind them into the ground. And you know what? Neither one succeeded because both of them stood up to each other, and that was the good part of it, seeing the tactics, and that was the beauty of it. But some games at the old Parramatta Stadium, before this one got built, I can remember on the hill at the back of the post, at the Parramatta side. I usually go, not the Westmead side. I used to go behind those posts, and who can forget some of those epic battles? You know what I mean? And every time you thought one team was getting away, Sterling would do something, or Mortimer would do something, or Terry Lamb would do something, and bring them back into the game. They were just epic contests. So you know what? I think from all the teams in the competition, the Parramatta and Canterbury rival, and we've got some famous ones. You know, South Sydney Roosters, obviously, Cronulla and Saints. But and I know you guys have a big rival against Penrith, but don't disregard the Canterbury and Parramatta or the Eels and the Bulldogs rivalry. No. And you'll see it on the weekend. You'll see it on the weekend when it's probably going to be full house or close to it, because the Dogs have got high expectations this year, Troy. The atmosphere's going to be electric on Saturday. Electric, mate.
Electric, I think.
Electric.
Well, let's get to this game on Saturday night, 5:30 p.m. at CommBank Stadium. And
you got me excited already, Troy.
Yeah, well, I'm excited as well. The countdown's out. The team lists are out. The first full, I guess you could say, team list Tuesday for the year. Obviously, last week we only had the 4 teams named, but the rest of them have been named now, and the Parramatta and Canterbury team have been named. And look, I think there's not a lot of surprises in the Parramatta team. Obviously, Mike Acevo suspended, so Morgan Harper, a new signing, comes into the centres, and Bailey Simonson goes onto the wing. And look, Brad Arthur said in the preseason that it was only going to be, he wanted an 80-minute hooker, but he's gone for 2. He's gone for Joey Lussick and Brennan Hands on the interchange bench at number 14. And another new recruit, Kelma Tuolagi, makes his debut for Parramatta on the bench in number 17. The Bulldogs, Blake Taff.
Is he a forward, Troy? Is he a forward?
Kelma, yeah, big second rower. He's looking the goods in the trial, and really excited to see him play. So good to see him get a start on the bench. And for the Bulldogs, Blake Taff gets the start at fullback. And obviously Stephen Crichton in the centres as captain. Drew Hutchinson has got the halfback job this week. So Jamin Salmon as well in the lock position. Sam Hughes big lump of a lad. He's on the bench there. So you've got a few good players on the bench. On the extended bench, Bronson Cherry, who's been out of the game for a while. Toby Sexton, who a lot of people thought might have got the halfback job. Jake Turpin, a signing from the Roosters. And Connor Tracy as well, pretty much a sort of a good utility. I'm not too sure which other players. I mean, you've got heaps of utility players at the Bulldogs. I think you signed pretty much all of them, but it's very hard to find a spot for Connor in this side. So, what do you think of that Bulldogs side?
Tell me, who are the two centres? Because I haven't seen the list.
Jacob Kiraz and Stephen Crichton. So.
Oh wow, Kiraz in the centres.
Yes.
Not Cherry. Okay, interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
Blake Wilson has got the wing spot, which has forced Jacob into the centres, and Cherry onto the bench or extended bench.
Oh, so on the extended bench, okay, and I'm a little bit surprised of Drew Hutchison at half because I thought in the trials Sexton was slightly not better but suited the style more, but he probably went for more experience. Look, it's probably the best team we've got there, Troy. I can't see, or whoever's on the bench or whoever's been left out, they're pretty equal to each other. So it's about chemistry now, Troy. If we can get a good start in the game. If we get a good start, who knows? Look, I want to win. Make no mistake. Yep. I'm going there. But deep down in my heart, I know that. I mean, Parramatta's a very settled team. They're a very experienced team. Let's get real. The forwards. You know, when you look at RCG, when you look at not Brendan Hands. Good Hofgood. When you look at Polo, they're Cartwright. That's where they're going to get us. Unfortunately, if they get us, it's in the pack. But the team that Canterbury's put out is probably the best they can do. I like Taff at fullback. Kiraz has got to be in the team. I'm waiting back to the last 2 years to see what Burden can do. We saw what he can do at Penrith, but he hasn't really produced the goods for us. But look, in his defence, he's learning to play 5'8". He's not. I don't believe he's a natural 5'8". And when he was at Penrith, he did get Dalian Centre of the Year. So, and when he played for Australia, he was in the centre. So he's learning the game at 5'8". I've got high hopes for Critter. He's a champion. He's a winner. If we can bring those qualities over from Penrith to the Bulldogs, mate, we're in with a hope. So look, I'm expecting it to be a very tight game. If I look at the other side, if he had only one hooker in the team, Brad Arthur, I'd be calling for his head right here and now, because that's ludicrous. So thank God he's done that. And can I be honest? It's up to Mitch and it's up to Dylan. If they decide to put it on, no team in the comp can stop Parramatta. If they have one of those days that, Mitch decides to start kicking 40-20s, chip chasing and regaining the ball, or putting some of these big forwards into half gaps, no one's got a chance. So let's hope that he has a quiet game, Troy. Let's hope Mitch has a quiet game.
Well, yeah, but, for your sake, let's hope he has a quiet game. For my sake and the Para fans, let's hope he has a blinder. But one player who will, be a little bit worried about returning back to Parramatta is Reid Marnie. He didn't have the best game there last year. I think big RCG got the better of him there and pestered him. Reid made a few mistakes in that game, but it's always tough playing against your old club, but especially when it's going to be, I think, nearly a full house. There's not a lot of tickets available at the moment. One player for Canterbury who I think had a stellar season last year and I think won the Rookie of the Year was Jacob Preston. So I think he'll...
Love him.
Yeah, I think he'll he'll be in for a big game and a big season, and he's only going to learn more and more and more. So, but I think we probably, as from a Parramatta perspective, I think we'll probably have to watch the old crossfield kick to Josh Adokar, which I think has led to a few tries against Parramatta before. Obviously, Stephen Crichton is one to watch as well. Just his skills as well. So, look, it's going to be a great game. The first round.
Can I ask you, is Stephen Crichton, is Harper marking Stephen Crichton? Are they on the same side?
No, I think they'll be on opposite sides. So I think he'll be up against Will Penasini, I think.
Oh, Penasini, okay. Because, I mean, Penasini and Simonson, well, Simonson's, he improved leaps and bounds last year. And I think the best is yet to come, and Panasini is starting to come into some of his best rugby league. I think the next 5 years we'll see the best of Simon. So, and what I'm alluding to is, Crichton's going to be a handful. We know that, we've seen it for the last 3-4 years. He's going to be a handful. So, and look, I don't think we've seen the best of Morgan Harper. But at the moment, I wouldn't rate him as good as Penasini, nor Critter, personally.
Yeah.
So, but if he's on the other side, okay, a little bit more relief there for you guys. Look, I'd love for you to swap him around. I've got no problem swap him around.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Well, let's get into some predictions. And would you have a score prediction at all? What do you think the score's going to be? Do you think it's going to be a high-scoring game? We've seen the last couple of games that played last year, Parramatta have scored 30 points plus, and the Bulldogs, I think, have scored 4 and 12, but it's a new-look Bulldog side. What do you think the score's going to be?
I think it's going to be 24-22. That's how close I think it's going to be. Every time one team is going to look like they're getting away, the other team's going to come back, because both teams have got strike. Both teams have got strike in different ways. If our middles can hold, and I hope they can, because you got Big Sammy coming off the bench, like you said. So if we can hold the Parramatta pack, we got an enormous strike out the centres, and so have you. When you look at Madison coming on the edges of the ruck, is Lane in? Is Lane starting?
Yeah, he's second row. Yep, Lane's in the second row.
So, I mean, he had an uncomfortable year last year. If he gets back to his best, he's a handful with Mitch running off him. So, with both teams have got an enormous strike, and that's why I think it's going to be 24-22. Now, I'm suggesting it's going to be to counter his favour. I'm really hoping to get off a good start, because if we either lose or Parramatta flog us, our confidence might dip, and it might be another long year. So I'm hoping if we lose by a field goal. But I honestly believe it's going to be that tight. I do honestly believe it's going to be that tight.
All right, I'm going to go.
Your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to go 28-18. Obviously, Parramatta's way, and look, I think there's going to be a lot of points in the game, obviously, and I think just at home, first round of the year, an arch rival. I think Parramatta are going to step it up. Dylan Brown's in for a big year.
He's scary.
Well,
Brown scary.
He has to. He owes the team and he owes the fans for last year. So, look, I think they're really going to try and turn it on. They scored a few points against the Titans in a trial game 2 weeks ago now, and this is probably their pretty strongest team that they can put apart. Probably their strongest team that they could probably put on the field week in, week out. Obviously,
can I suggest something? I think Sivo's a massive loss coming out of dirty ball, massive loss. So that's something else we can exploit, because if you guys had Sivo as well, I'd be putting the kill in the rack. Honestly, I don't know if we could handle Sivo, especially at Parramatta. He's got a great a great scoring record at Parramatta, Sevo. So, I mean, I can't remember a time I've gone to Parramatta Stadium and him not scoring. I really can't.
No,
And multiple tries. Multiple tries.
That's it. Sometimes when he gets one, he'll get two, and
He'll get two.
sometimes he may get three. Well, speaking of try scorers, have you got a lucky dip for a first try scorer in the game?
Yeah, I actually do. Everybody's going to think I'm going to say Critter. I think Taff.
Okay. Yeah.
I think Taff's a really good player. He proved it last year, and he's a Dylan Edwards sort of fullback. High energy, lots of running, lots of meters. You know what I mean? He's not a Latrell who breaks 8, 9, 10 tackles in a game. So he might come off a pop and split the defence. You never know your luck.
All right.
But it'll be out on the edges. All our points will be coming out on the edges. You know what I mean? How about yourself?
I'm going to go. Yeah, I'm going to stick to my old favourite, Will Penasini.
Good old Penna.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with him. I think he got the first one against the Gold Coast in the trial, so I think I'm going to stick with him. And I think actually last year against Melbourne, he got the first try in the season last year for Parramatta. So I'm going to stick with Will. People who know me know that I like to pick and stick usually with players. I don't like to chop and change, but he's bulked up this year and he'll be in for a big year. He had played a lot of games last year. We saw glimpses of what he can do, especially against the Dolphins. He had a wow of a game there, but more experience under his belt, and I think he's in for a big year as well. So hopefully,
I think Gutho's in for a big year as well.
Yeah, well, we all know what Gutho's going to do. He's going to be in there and everywhere. He's going to be running. He's going to be tackling. He's going to be barking orders. He's going to be everywhere. So that's just what you get from Clint Gutherson. Well, George, thank you very much for joining me on this game day preview, the Parramatta Eels versus the Bulldogs, and I will probably catch you out there at CommBank Stadium on Saturday.
Absolutely.
And listeners, stay tuned as well for a future episode of Sugar and Spice and All Things Nice as well. But also tune into the Quick Hands podcast as well. So 3 blokes talking rugby league. It's a great listen. So I was actually listening to it on the way home from work today. So your latest episode. So listeners, follow the Quick Hands podcast as well. And George, I'll see you on Saturday somewhere out and about at CommBank Stadium.
Absolutely. And thank you, Troy. Thank you for inviting me on the show. It's I enjoy talking rugby league, but when it comes with you, it's always nice and easy and informative. So thank you, Troy.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.